When did you feel most alive? When you had the most amount of fun?
All right, let me check. I had a good childhood. I liked my youth in Helena and Butte, Montana. Went to school in Helena and Butte. I liked that. There was not much to complain about when you were getting raised up. People looking after your parents, and didn't have to worry about life much. Yeah.
What did you used to do when you were a child?
Started out as a piano player for the most part. Went through grade school, started at 7 years old, playing piano. And I wasn't sportsy particularly, I don't remember that, but I like music, anything music. I love that. No, I like my youth, and then I went to New York. I told Michelle, that's her last name, Noelle McAvoy. Does that ring a bell? Anyway, she's the one that was questioning me about my youth, sitting in the studio up there, DemCat. And and I said I liked New York City. She kind of clicked on that and said, "Oh, you were in New York?" And I said, "Yeah, I lived in New York City, Manhattan for 3 years." That was kind of a high point of my life. Got out of Montana, which I found kind of boring. I worked at the telephone company out here. I transferred out east and worked at a telephone company. Then I transferred over to RCA Victor Records and got a good job with them. Stayed a couple of years, and then I got appendicitis. I think it was the stress of big city living. I never used to big city. Manhattan was a pretty large city. Anyway, I came back to Montana and got a job at the Forest Service. I finished my career here in Missoula at the Forest Service in Missoula here. And I lived most of my life here in Missoula. Helena, Butte, Missoula was my cities in Montana that I lived at. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Butte.
I like Butte. It was kind of a blowed. My mom had to give up her job in Helena and moved. My daddy had a music store in Butte. We moved over there when I was a sophomore in high school. And it was rough and ready then. All the mines were going strong, and it was a different atmosphere. Helena was very conservative. Butte was kind of wild out and wide open and all that, gambling going on. But it had wonderful restaurants, and I still need to go back to Butte and get food because they have better restaurants than any other. They used to anyway. Really good Italian food in Butte, and a lot of different varieties of food. It's pasties. Have you ever had a pasty? Mm-hmm. Pork chop John sandwiches. Okay. Just ethnic background in Butte was interesting because it's more of a mix, and I found that was true in New York City. It was kind of nice back there because there was Italian neighborhoods. I felt kind of right at home because Manhattan's a mixture of different races and stuff too. I like that. A little more diverse than Montana, you know what I mean? Get to meet people of different backgrounds and things. Yeah.
Tell me about your parents.
Okay, Mom and Dad were middle class, I would say. Mom worked most of her life, put my brother through college, one brother older. And she was a working woman and went to school when I was in first grade. Went to work, and Dad was a salesman. I would call him more than anything else. Then he got a music store, and that moved us to Butte. He'd been on the road with a traveling company for many years, and then he got a chance to get into a business store and selling musical instruments and appliances. And that was his love. He loved musical instruments of any kind. So that went belly up because the mines went closed. So Dad had to go back and hustle for a different kind of work, mostly salesman jobs after that. But they had made their home in Butte, and they both passed away in Butte area. So they've been gone for a while now. So my brother died at a young age. He was living in Spokane for many years, and he had kind of an early out. He didn't last as long as he should have. But he had 4 children, and they all are gone. I mean, not they're gone, but they're raised, and I don't know where they are. I haven't kept up with my nieces and one nephew that my brother raised. But, yeah. That's family. They kind of spread out a little bit on you. Yeah, you try to keep up with them, but they move. Everybody moves around. How about you? Well, there isn't all the electronical world, the phones and people. In my little town of Helena, Montana, was a small community, and We were not afraid of neighbors. We didn't have crime, particularly at that time in the 50s and 60s where I was raised. Didn't worry about that. Didn't worry about locking the doors. It wasn't, it was paranoid as as daily life is here. Worry about getting your ID stolen. Those are things that have come about with the electronic age, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember a lady was talking here, the lady, somebody, wartime, we were a little rationed. I remember that. Second World War, I was a kid. When the war was over, it was 45, and I was about 9 years old. And I remember we couldn't get certain things like chocolate bars, and everything was going to the soldiers overseas. In America, they were rationing gas, rationing everything else to keep the war effort going and the boys overseas. And I remember that. My uncle was in a concentration camp. I remember that in Germany. He was in the Canadian Army, and he was picked up as a soldier over in Germany and put in a German prison camp. And we got word that he had died, and it was false report. And they had a funeral and everything for him, and he was released. Finally, the Americans came in and released all the prisoners in the camp, German prison camp, and they all were sent home. And he had some tales to tell. He didn't talk about it much. But he said it was not as bad as the Japanese camps. I remember him saying to my dad, he said it was not as bad as it could have been. He'd been picked up as a Japanese. But they were much more cruel than the Germans. Germans were a little more like Americans in a way. They were uniformed and all that. But anyway, there was tales about what went on in the Second World War, and we were hearing. Yeah. Yeah. But as you're raised, you don't think about that when you're a kid, 9 or 10. Maybe you could still go to movies. America was not, under siege like Europeans and people that were going through the Second World War. That kind of thing. We didn't have that kind of problems that they did over there. Starvation and things like that. But we were still pretty well off in America. Yeah.
If you could take something that was and it's now changed and make it go back to where it was, what would you change back?
Now? Mm-hmm. To back? Well, I think that's kind of backward thinking. I wouldn't do that. I don't think so. I think you got to live in the future and adjust to it. You
wouldn't undo something that's...
I don't think so.
Why not?
Progress. Well, I think that's going backwards, and you can't measure out. There's an old expression, something about something apropos, and I can't think what it is. But yeah, you just keep on trucking. You don't look back. I think that's it. I wouldn't. I like my path. I have nothing to regret about it. But I wouldn't want to change it, and I wouldn't want to have anything come back. I like being here where I am now. I like the present.
So you like the technology?
I do. I'm not up to it. I'm computer nut. I mean, what's the word? Ignorant. I'm fighting the modern stuff. But I like the new telephone systems. I like a lot of things about the modern world. And the credit cards and all that. Being able to get out and, punch your card in an ATM. And there's a lot of nice things about living in this world. Yeah.
So not everybody has that view.
No, well, yeah, if you have a great deal of nostalgia for everything in the past. I really don't. I don't. I remember it was great funness, but I don't want to live it again or anything like that. It's part of the past. Yeah, I think you go on with the future.
So you're not one of those people who are like, if I could only go back and redo my high school years.
No, I don't have regrets. Everybody has little traumas from your high schools. Maybe I would have been, dated more and got a little more friendly with people, a little bit of a recluse, a little bit. But as I grew older, I had to accept myself, as you do. And I thought, well, that was the way I was, Myrt. I'm not going to change. That's the way I was. That's part of what I was made like. And it's, you're not going to change your basic personality that much. My brother said once, you don't get older, you just get more like yourself. I thought it was a great comment. Yeah. We don't really grow up, we just get more like ourselves. Yeah, I had a smart family. My brother was smart. I looked up to my brother Don. I wish he had lived longer. He was about 4 or 5 years older, and he had a heart condition, which I have now. Yeah, and it was too bad he had to leave so early. He was only 63, I think, when he died. It was life. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as you get older, you say, okay, that's the way it is. We'll just go on. You read a lot of these biographies of famous people like Katharine Hepburn and some of the people who lived long lives. And that's how they live, I think. They accept every day, take it as it comes, and then pick up the chips and go on.
Was there ever a time that if you could go back and you could watch it just for the sake of just reliving it, not change anything?
Just want to visualize what it was?
Yeah, or kind of one of those futuristic movies where you can kind of go back in the past. You can't change anything, but
Back
you
to
can
the
live
future.
there, yeah, and you can see what's going on, and you can participate in it without changing anything, just to have that experience again. Do you have one of those kind of moments?
Not really. I don't think so.
Something that was really great that you just really like going back and remembering that time?
Let me think. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, your memory does fade a little bit as you go. That's the only problem. There were good times, I'm sure, but now I can't give you a specific one. Yeah, anything in the musical world I would have lived again, I think. Like going to concerts and...
What kind of concerts? Anything in particular?
Yeah, no, piano is mostly, and orchestral concerts. I saw a lot of those in New York. And yeah, I'd like to see the big theater. I miss theater out here. For a while, there's a nice theater out here too, but it isn't the same as going to a Broadway show and seeing a big theater, seeing stage work. I love that. And I like London. I like traveling. I haven't been out of the country for quite a while. I wouldn't mind taking some other trips. If I were up to it, I would go back and see a little more of Europe that I didn't. I saw a little bit of Northern Europe. I was much healthier then. I saw London twice, and I saw Scotland, and I saw Hawaii. I got to Hawaii a couple of times. Traveling is very broadening. You get up and see other people.
Tell me about Scotland.
I wasn't there very long. I was there overnight in Edinburgh. That's the capital, I think. We went up from London on a train. It was kind of a nice experience. They had just sandwiches on the train. It was, fun. We ride the Brit Rail, I think they call it over there. There was a tour group, and we went up to Edinburgh, and they showed us the castle where Queen Mary or whoever it was she was Queen of Scotland. They showed us the place in Edinburgh. It's on the ocean, and I loved that city. It was on the water. I could look out through a bed and breakfast and see the water, the ocean out there. From Montana, anything where you're on near water is kind of a thrill for us Montanans, because we're inland, and you can get out and see water. I like that. Or Hawaii, places where there's water all around you.
You like to walk Hawaii?
Yeah, it's so balmy, it's so different than our climate. I love that. Yeah, 3 times I think it was Hawaii. Yeah, which I had a girl who lived on the Big Island, what they call it. Oahu is where Honolulu, and the Big Island is where it's the biggest island. And she had a home. Hilo was one of the capitals, I think, on the Big Island. And there's all kinds of other ones. Have you ever been to Hawaii? A lot of people haven't. A lot of people in the military, men especially, didn't want to go back because they were stationed there. They didn't have memories of Hawaii being a great place because they were in World War II, I guess. Didn't want to go back. But as a vacationer, I thought it was a wonderful place to see and visit. The flowers and the smell and the water. Tropical, so different. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mexico. I got to Cancun, Mexico, and a summit they call it Bank. Has a bunch of people who go out of the country. We got down there on a trip, and I remember losing my wallet. Afraid I was going to get stuck in a Mexican prison because I lost my identification, which was not a fun thing. They had to talk me back through the customs down there because I had no identification. They could have gotten a little bit testy about it. Mexican government, they don't work for that. But I was lucky with tour guides, and they said, "Don't worry about it. We'll get you on that plane back to Montana," because I had no identification. Yeah, that was a bad one, kind of a bad experience. Last day of the trip, I remember that. I was out on a little tour around the city of Cancun, and it was poverty. I saw how poverty-stricken the Mexican people were out of the resort areas. There's real poverty. If you're not working in those resorts, you're not making a living down there. At least at that time when I was there. People can get jobs in those big casinos with the rich people coming in and staying there. They make it out pretty well. But the general population, they're poor. And we don't see that much up here in Montana. More middle income people's up here, but we got poverty up here though too. Let's face it, there's poverty everywhere. Missoula and everywhere. Have I been bored you complete now, Philip?
How do you see the world?
How do I see it?
Yeah. When you see the world, what do you see?
The general world out here? Or just, you mean the world situation?
The world as a whole.
Okay, you mean as upbeat or is it going to hell in a basket or what do you think?
Sure.
I'm optimistic. I mean, we've been going a long time. I don't think it's going to blow up. I don't think atomic energy is going to take us away. I don't think we're going to keep that under control. I feel that's a good thing. We're watching these foreign countries that got the bombs and all, or the nuclear and all that. They can keep on track of it much better. And on top of that, I think. So I'm not sweating. We used to have, and I remember when I was a kid, we used to air raids, and you'd be afraid of planes coming up and dropping. You'd get under your little desks in your grade school and say, "Put your heads down," and all that kind of thing. But I don't think they're doing that with kids nowadays. I don't think they're threatened by any kind of invasions, or anything. Nobody's going to come and get us in America.
When they started doing the nuclear power, I know that was a big issue at the time. A lot of people didn't want it. Some of the people did.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? What do you remember about that?
Oh, I remember the movie with Jane Fonda and Michael Douglas did a movie about a sort of like after 3 Mile Island blew up. I don't remember that. There was I think it was 60s or 70s. It was a movie kind of parodying what was happening if a nuclear plant should blow up, and all this contamination would happen. And it was scary. You go to those. Hollywood was making a lot of movies kind of about that time about being afraid of nuclear, I think. There was another one called Silkwood. And we were building nuclear plants with Meryl Streep was a star called Silkwood. And they were I don't know if you ever saw that, it's a good movie. And she got contaminated and she had to get burned if you're working on those nuclear plants. It's highly dangerous, people that are working with that good stuff.
So you remember being kind of scared of it?
Not really. No. I was aware of it because they were portraying it in a lot of. If it's a movie, I would go see it and I happened to see them about it. But no, I wasn't thinking, okay, Montana's going to have a problem. It never occurred to me that would be maybe other place, Nevada or New England or wherever it might be. But no, we live in a big country, so I didn't think that was going to happen.
So you felt pretty safe in Montana, we're isolated from
that's why a
everything.
lot of people come up here. I think they get away from those big cities down in California and they go, listen, we'll put it to Montana. Maybe that's what your parents came up here for. Get away from the threats of whatever was going on down here. You never know. Yeah. But we can always move. Head out for Canada if you really were scared. Or if the draft, a lot of people flipped out and went up to Canada, get away from the draft, afraid of going to the wars overseas. Maybe you were through that, maybe not. But that happened, after you probably.
Did you have friends who went up to Canada?
No, not that I remember. Nobody did, but there were probably like a lot of them around here in Montana and other places. It would be easy to get from Montana, that's for sure, close to the borders. And there wasn't too many restrictions about borders. When I was doing, they were going back and forth in Canada. I don't think we had as many scares about people getting back and forth over the border in Canada. They were not patrolling quite as, as rigidly as they are now. Worrying about terrorists and all this stuff today, like, people slipping over the borders and getting free up in Canada. Yeah, but if you keep up and you read your daily stuff, you could be scared if you're of the mind to be, I suppose. If that's going to worry you. But why worry about it's not happening, I say. If it ain't happening, don't worry. There's a guy that came to work at the Forest Service in Butte, and he didn't know his pardon the expression, asked him the whole guy. He couldn't even alphabetize, but he had a degree from somewhere in political science, and all the women that were kind of down to earth in Butte, mind you, and they made such fun of this poor guy because they tried to get him indoctrinated into office work. That was the job he had gotten to start out his career, and they put him over by the files, and he couldn't alphabetize, and he had his degree, but in political science. And we thought, now what good is the darn degree? Because Butte is not high on academics, particularly. I mean, Butte people didn't have a chance to go to many colleges in my day and age. A lot of them did, but I was probably a rare one to get down to Dillon for 1 year of school. And Butte people, they were not too many going to school. But oh dear, those ladies in the Butte Forest Service office were toughies. I tell you, Catholic. A lot of them were Catholic, and my mom found that kind of an adjustment because there were so many strong Catholic people in Butte, and we were Protestants, and you stand out a little bit in Butte if you're not Catholic. Yeah, I mean that was strong in that day. They maybe become more economical or ecumenical now, but they kind of catered to the father is the right one, and then yeah. Remember one lady said, "My father's not telling me how many kids to have." They defy it, the church every now and then, in that day, even then. Yeah, she had 2 children, and that's all she's having. But she'd go to church and they'd say, you must, have more children. Catholics were propagating the faith that way, get more Catholics. That was the theory in those days, apparently. That's how they got control of a lot of the country, like the Mexican countries or South America. Got more population of people to pay into the church. I remember once my girlfriend went down to visit, I think it was Mexico, and she saw all the big churches down there were rich and being supported by the people. And they were full of gold and everything. Yet outside the door were people begging. There was contrast between the church and the people. She noticed that she came back talking about that in those days. It was it wasn't equitable between what they were, the people that were paying their tithing into the church or whatever, supporting the Catholic Church. But the church was getting rich, and the people were getting poor. Kind of seemed like.
You think that's still the way it's going right now?
Oh, I think that's kind of the way of the world. The rich get rich and the poor get poorer.
And how would you create world peace?
You sound like one of those guys at the Miss America pageant. Remember those girls that always get down, I am for world peace. I remember that. They were always for world peace. They don't have any idea how that. Well, I don't think there is such a thing. I don't believe in world peace. And I think I'm a little bit of an isolationist. Now I hear what's our new Secretary of State, John somewhere or other, he's over there saying we got to quit being so isolationist. I heard that on the radio today. He doesn't want us to pull back from all these involvements that we have, like we have for many past years, like in the Middle East and all that. But he says we're not as disliked as we think. He's been around apparently, and he says we all think we Americans are the bad guys overseas because we put our noses in too often. And try to get world peace and try to make all the other countries democratic. And I don't believe it can ever happen. There's going to be strife in Israel, strife, all of these, religious sects fighting each other for the rest of our lives. I think it's been going on thousands of years. I don't think we'll ever settle that, particularly anywhere, unless you're very strong religiously minded, and I'm not. I don't think religion will ever save people from fighting with each other. That's my theory. Because religion, I think, has caused more rifts between, peoples. Now that's just my thinking. Maybe I got to my dad. Dad told me that once. He didn't believe in the Bible. He didn't believe in a lot of other things. So I'm not particularly religious. Because he said, well, look at your history. He said, more wars have been fought over religions in your history than anything else. Irish and the Scots and the English and the Irish, and all because of religions. Because that's what separates people, the way they think. And if you don't think my way as my religion, then you're something wrong. Because I have the right religion, that's what people say. I'm the right. You're not. Everybody else is going to hell, but who you are, whoever they are, as letting them let people be what they have to be, and don't try to, dictate it to them or anything like that. Yeah, that would be nice. That's the ideal, of course. It would happen. We all live in hope, don't we? Yeah. So someday that'll happen. Yeah.
I don't know that it'll ever happen, but
it's the thing, and they preach these. They say these things. Accept your brother as they are, and that's what religion is all about. If you have a faith of any kind, it's accepting the people that are different from you or whatever, and make sure that they are looking after. And religions do that. I got to admit, I have a little friend I met in here, Greek gal, lives here in Missoula, and she's very, very religious. And they look after people that are in trouble around here, and their church takes them in if they have nowhere else to go, and feeds them and gets them housing, and that's part of their religious thinking. You look out.
Well, you have been fun.
Well, goody. I like to be fun. I don't like to be serious all the time. I think it's kind of nice to have somebody that isn't taking themselves. I don't like to take myself too darn serious.